History is filled with once thriving companies, communities, and even countries that simply decided good enough was good enough. Today, the endless pursuit of maintaining the status quo of good enough works well for Washington politicians and insiders, but never ends well for hardworking Americans. The distraction of political drama and infighting over the status quo may distract the media and pacify the masses for a moment, and it certainly keeps the current political elites in power. But it ultimately ends with a great deal of sorrow and suffering for the people of the nation. Preserving the status quo has been the central goal of the established leaders of both political parties for decades now. Both parties have served up a steady stream of fake fights and false choices to the good people of this country. They've used the tactics of division and distraction, the tactics many a tyrant down through the ages has deployed to preserve their own power. Leaders have attempted to convince the American people that we are simply too divided as a nation to deal with the difficult issues of the day. Division has become the ultimate excuse for lawmakers and power brokers as to why they never achieve progress and why the current status quo remains. For example, Washington tells us that we cannot solve the immigration issue because we are simply too divided. Well, I maintain that about 94% of the immigration issue could be solved in a single afternoon on the floor of the United States House and Senate because there is overwhelming agreement on the vast majority of the common sense solutions to our immigration problem. But leaders in Washington tell us it simply cannot be done. And as Americans, we need to just settle for the status quo. Sadly, there are many individuals and organizations in Washington who raise enormous amounts of money using immigration as a divisive issue, and both of the political parties run election campaigns with immigration as a wedge issue. The American people deserve better and should certainly expect more than the same old status quo from Washington. And immigration is just one area where we're being told to simply settle for the status quo, while political groups amass fortunes in fundraising dollars on those very issues. The American people should reject the excuses of the political class and demand real dialogue, real debate, and serious solutions for our critical issues. Here at Sutherland Institute, we believe we can make real progress this year on issues like transforming, not destroying, public education, creating flexible, student-centric learning with empowered parents, teachers, and local leaders, on balancing, preserving, and protecting the rights of all, from the LGBT community to religious groups and everyone in between. Real tolerance and mutual accommodation can be achieved. We believe we can make poverty temporary instead of just tolerable. We believe we can foster a healthcare system where dollars and decisions are kept with patients and their doctors. And we are confident we can end dependence on big government solutions out of Washington when community solutions at home can solve the problem better. In the year ahead, we should reject Washington's excuses of division. We should ignore the political distractions, and we need to demand more as citizens. We here at Sutherland believe in the old saying, you can make progress or you can make excuses, but you cannot make both. It's time for progress. You know, in November of 2016, our nation voted for disruption of the status quo. More than the American people voted for a conservative or a liberal agenda, our citizens voted for disruption. In America, the status quo has never been sufficient for our success, and good enough simply isn't good enough for the United States of America. It is time to disrupt and destroy the status quo and create the extraordinary future the American people deserve. For Sutherland Institute, this is Boyd Matheson. Thanks for engaging, because principle matters.